Hi everyone, Paul and Nino from Voxx here. Very excited to have just received two of these brand new CsL complex oscillators from Jason at Instruo. So we thought we'd just do a quick show and tell and explain why we chose this particular module and record a few sounds so you can actually hear it. It's not a full review, we'll leave that to DivKid, Ben, Sonic State and all the pros. Instruo, small company based up in Scotland, designing and building some really interesting and quite beautiful looking modules, I think you'll agree. So earlier this month, in fact last month now, we drove to Berlin from our base in London to perform at Superbooth. So thank you, Herr Schneider, for the kind invitation. But as well as performing, we were really on the lookout for a couple of new voices to put in our performance rigs. And you know, I've lusted after a dedicated complex oscillator ever since getting into modular about 3 years ago. So we thought we'd use our time at Superbooth trying out some new designs and revisiting some of the more established devices such as the Make Noise DPO, Voxx, the new Chaos devices, Odessa, very interesting additive oscillator, which did make some very lovely sounds. But nothing really ticking all the boxes until we came across this rather stunning looking device, which looks a bit like alien tech from a set designer's prop department. So what are all those boxes that we're actually looking to tick? Well, being a complex oscillator, obviously you're looking for two oscillators and a variety of wave shaping options so that you can create an almost endless palette of sound and texture. And while many of the more established complex oscillators out there provide this in one form or another, the CsL seems to take the best from both old and new. Both oscillators, as you would now expect, are full-range primary oscillators that can act as independent voices, as opposed to the more traditional modulator carrier type design. Each oscillator uses a different core, so the top one's a sawtooth, bottom one's a triangle. Each oscillator has its own wave folder, which is nice, pulse width modulation outputs, and all the classic waveforms you would expect on separate outputs as well. And a sub out, brilliant. One of the things I've been looking for in a complex oscillator for some time now. So some fantastic modulation options as well, ring modulation, a rectifier that rectifies any negative voltage, inverting it to a positive, a CV controllable modulation bus index with internal routing. The idea there that with minimal patching you can get some pretty crazy stuff happening, which we shall hopefully find out. Also, each oscillator has its own unique characteristics built into its core circuits, and as the website points out, each amplitude modulation type has its own distinct sonic characteristics as well, with differing makeups of sidechain frequencies and that sort of thing. Now, what all that tells me is that this has not been designed or manufactured in any sort of cut and paste sort of way, but like a lot of great things about modular, it's hand built with a real emphasis upon giving the artist something that will allow you to come up with unique and bespoke sound design possibilities. For me, it's everything I love about new modular. It acknowledges classic synthesizer concepts and then evolves these ideas within an analog domain and pushes the tech forward, as all good music technology should. Okay, so I'm going to hand you over to Nino now, who's already got his CsL installed and can hopefully generate some sounds for us.
Hi, this is Nina from Voxx, and I'm going to be taking you through some of the sounds you were just hearing there, all of which, apart from the kick drum, were coming from the CsL. So, first of all, voice 1 was being used to generate kind of the main melodic sequence part of the patch, and then voice 2 is being used to drive the bass line. There are various outputs I'm using here, not all of them, so it kind of shows the amount of potential possibilities we've got with the outputs on the module. The other kind of elements, the other modules that are being used, I've got envelope generators, I've got the Optimix, also the delay and reverb. Reverb was coming from Reverb, delay was coming from the Distinct Mark III. And also the one of the main bassline parts, which I'll go through in a moment, is going through the AJH Minimod ladder filter module. But other than that, there's no other sound generation coming from any other modules at all. So, first of all, main melodic pattern. This is the final output from voice 1, and this is going into Galilean moons, which is being triggered by grids. And also the wavefolding is being modulated slowly through maths, modulation signal coming from maths, and there's also some internal modulation that's coming from voice 2. Only a small amount of intensity on the index there, and also the amount of wave folding. The type of wave folding, yes, is being modulated as well. You'll find that when you're working with the module, that because there's so much internal routing and various kind of permutations, the way that you can get the thing working and functioning, is that sometimes you kind of lose track of where everything is, which is quite nice actually, because it means you're more likely to stumble across things you might not have done otherwise. So I think that's a real positive thing. Okay, so that's one of the main melodic sequences. Then we have the pulse width modulation output from voice 1, which is this one, and this is being modulated from Wogglebug. And then the output of this is going into one of the Optimix inputs, which is being triggered from grids, I believe, if I remember rightly. Yes. So that's the pulse width modulation on voice 1. Then we come to the main bass part. So this is the sub output from voice 2, which is currently on -1 octave, and that's going through the mini-mod ladder filter AJH ladder filter module. So I'll just open it up all the way so you can hear what it's like unfiltered. Now that you might be hearing that slight little sort of pulsating high pitch kind of glitch that's coming every so often, and that's because I've got the FM modulation input on voice 2, and that's source of that modulation is the pulses out on Turing machine. So it's kind of giving us this little occasional kind of pitch glitch that's going on, and effectively I've set the FM amount so it's kind of tuning the amount, or tuning that little glitch so it doesn't sound too avant-garde. Anyway, so that's that bass part. Then we have this is the final output from voice 2, and that's all. You can hear that little pitch glitch, FM glitch happening as well on this particular sound. And also the wavefolding amount is being modulated from the Voxx expander from Turing machine. So that's kind of what's giving it that quite its kind of stepped tonal textural kind of change. Then we have kind of this slowly moving drone-like sound. It's got an awful lot of reverb on it, but this is the kind of the 2-stage pulse width modulation output from voice 2, and the CV source here is coming from another channel on maths, which is modulating quite slowly, and it's also modulating the Tangle Quartet VCA, so it's ever slowly moving the sound in and out, tonally as well as with regard to amplitude. And this is following the bass line part. And then finally, the multiply output, which I've got on, I believe it's AM at the moment, says ring mod, amplitude modulation and rectify settings. I believe that when the light's off, it's ring mod, white is amplitude modulation, and orange is rectified, which may or may not be right. I'll need to watch that great video that Jason did again, just to double check that. Anyway, but this is kind of giving us like a semi-atonal tune, like a modal kind of percussion. It's almost quite rings-like in that way. So it's giving us an additional little element. Turn the delay up a little bit more. And then finally, just to kind of show you all the elements in the patch, there's the kick, which is coming from 2HP kick. So I'll just bring everything back in slowly. So overall, this is a great module. I mean, I've only really been using it for a couple of days really, on and off, and it's it's going to become pretty much the centre of my system, really, with regards to what kind of drives patches, I think, really. And yeah, congratulations to Jason. It's a great module, and look forward to really getting into it in the future. Okay, thanks. Cheers.